Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on Indian pharma market performance for the month of May 23. The market has shown a very good growth of close to 5.6% for the month of May 23, as well as if you look at the MAT period, the growth has been double digit over 10%. While we will look at all the different areas of how the different therapies have performed, what are the growth drivers, how the top corporates and brands have performed, before even going to the IPM performance for the month, we will be looking at the latest notification and the impact of that notification on the Indian pharma market. On 2nd June, the Government of India has released a list of fixed dose combinations whose manufacture and sale has been prohibited in the country. So we will look at what are those combinations, which are the molecules that have got impacted, which are the brands, and probably the companies, the therapy areas that have got impacted. So in today's webinar, So in today's webinar, the topics that we will be covering would be impact of the 14 banned fixed dose combinations, the IPM therapy performance, the different levers of growth of the Indian pharma market on month-on-month basis, on monthly basis for each therapy area. And we'll also look at how the top 40 corporates and the top 40 brands have performed in this scenario, key takeaways. And in today's opinions that matter section, that section which is everybody loves to listen to, in that section, we have a very interesting discussion with Mr. Samar Ghosh, who is President India Business for Acute Therapy, Pulse Pharma, and he will be discussing on how the lines between the acute and chronic portfolio product promotion have started blurring. So before we go to other topics, our first discussion today would be on the impact of 14 banned fixed dose combinations on the industry. So even before I look or discuss the impact, I will discuss with you what is the approach that we have used for this analysis. First, we went through the entire notification and understood the composition and the dosage forms of the combinations which have been got or which have been a part of this portfolio, which has been prohibited from manufacture and sale. After that, we prepared a list of these 14 combinations. Now, this list also ensures, or we have taken into consideration the dosage forms, because in certain cases, it is only the tablets or only the syrups which have come under prohibition. So we have considered all of that. And then the next step, what we have done is we have mapped these combinations with the subgroups of our PharmaTrac audit. So this is how we have arrived at. These are the brands, companies, or the molecules and dosage forms which are matching with the description of the fixed dose combinations that have come in the government notification of 2nd June. Then we have looked at the impact at 3 levels, at a therapy level, at a corporate level, as well as at a brand level. So when we looked at how big is the market which has got impacted because of this notification, a market of close to 824 crore has been impacted because of this notification. Though the therapy areas which come under consideration in this notification are respiratory, neuro, anti-infectives, and pain and analgesics, the value of the pain and analgesics combinations is very minuscule. It is majorly respiratory segment and the neuro segment which have got impacted, of which respiratory impact is bigger. 95% of this 824 crore comes from the respiratory segment. So overall, this 824 would be close to 0.4% of the Indian pharma market. However, if you look at for these respective therapy areas, what is the contribution? So out of the overall respiratory segment of 11,174 crore, close to 786 crore, that is almost 7% of the respiratory supergroup has got impacted. Whereas in case of the neuro group, the contribution is relatively smaller. We also looked at how this portfolio, which has got impacted, how this portfolio has performed over a period of time. For that, we have looked at the 5 MAT value trend as well as 5 MAT unit trend for this portfolio. If I were to look in terms of growth, where I'm looking at the CAGR as well as the MAT May value as well as unit growth, the segment which has come under prohibition or under ban has shown a decent 5-year CAGR. Probably immediately after COVID, there may have been a little degrowth, but then at a MAT May level, the respiratory portfolio which has come under this umbrella has shown a very decent growth for MAT May performance and a very good CAGR as well. Then we also looked at probably there are 14 drug combinations which have gone under price control. Are all of them significantly big? Not really. What we have seen is out of these 14 banned FDCs, only 5 FDCs have got a significant value. So all don't have, if you see the rest of them, it's a very small market. In many places, the market is less than 1 crore value as well. So though the list is of 14 FDCs, it's only the 5 fixed dose combinations which have a significant value for impact. Also, we try to look at this set of 5 molecules or the rest of the molecules which have got impacted over a period of time. How have they grown over 5 MAT periods? And we have also tried to look at what is the 5-year CAGR of this market. Interestingly, this entire portfolio, or barring the first one, most of it has shown a very good or encouraging CAGR. Chlorpheniramine plus codeine combination, though the CAGR may be on the lower side, for MAT May 23, this portfolio has shown a very decent growth at a MAT May value period or as well as MAT May unit area. In both the places, this entire thing has shown a good growth. Then we also try to look at which are the corporates that have got impacted. Almost 72 corporates have one brand or the other which falls in this 14 banned FDCs. However, not all 72 corporates have a significant value coming from this. It is only these 7 corporates. I mean, there are 72, but I have just taken the top 7 where the value is 2 crore and above. So Abbott, Mankind, Franco, DRL, Glenmark, Shreya, Anglo-French, these are the companies where even the portfolio which has come under this ban is 10 crore and above. Though the value for Abbott, Mankind may look to be relatively on a higher side, what is the contribution of this portfolio to these companies? It is a very minuscule contribution of 3% and 2%. Companies which may still be majorly impacted would be ones like Franco, Shreya, Anglo-French, which really have significant or legacy brands in the respiratory portfolio. Then we looked at which are the brands. So close to 114 brands are a part of this entire portfolio. However, in this sheet, we have just taken the top brands because if you see the value of the brands as we go in the descending order of value, the value is less than 1 crore as well. So the major brands, close to 3 brands fall in the value of 100 crore and above. Another 3 brands fall in the value between 60 crores to 80 crores. Close to 5 brands fall in the value of 12 to 23 crores. And the rest 5 between the 2 to 6 crores. Rest all of the brands have got a turnover of less than a crore or 1 crore or less. So though 114 brands have got impacted by this notification, it is a few top brands which have a significant value and would be probably the ones which would be strongly impacted. What I understand from the market is these brands, a good number of these brands have already been withdrawn or a notice of withdrawal of these brands have also already been announced in the market. This was about the impact of the notification that has come on 2nd June. After this, we will be going to the IPM therapy performance, looking at how the different therapies have performed. Among the top therapies, if you see, almost all therapies are on a positive value growth trend for the month of May, though unit growth doesn't seem to be all that encouraging even today. Essentially meaning that even for the month of May, it is the price increase driven growth which has majorly driven the growth of the market. Exception being the respiratory segment, which continues to grow at a double digit for the month of May. And also for unit growth, it has shown a very decent and encouraging unit growth. Then we try to look at the IPM monthly growth drivers. If you look at almost all the therapy areas, it is majorly, this is the figure for the month of May. Throughout the months, actually across all the months, it is the price driven growth which has majorly driven the growth of the market. And even for this month, it is the price driven growth, but the contribution of new introduction driven growth seems to have slightly increased for the month of May over what we had seen in the month of April or in the previous months of November, December, Jan. Then we looked at how does this growth driver performance look for some of the key therapy areas. So if you look at majority of the key therapy areas, still the growth seems to be a price-driven growth. Exceptions being the anti-diabetes segment, the gynec segment, the blood-related segment, and the anti-neoplastic segment, where if you look at the new product or new introductions driven growth, new introductions may not necessarily be new molecules, but new brands being launched in the existing molecules, it is the new introductions which have driven the growth of the market. Then we look at the top 40 corporates. Though the IPM growth is for the month is around 5.6%, is it that all the top 40 corporates have grown at the same rate? Not really. There are certain corporates who have done definitely much better than the market. So if you look at companies like Abbott, Mankind, Torrent, Intas, while the IPM has grown by 5.6%, all these companies have shown a very decent growth of 11% and above in terms of value. Also, in terms of units, there is no degrowth. I mean, Abbott growth, I can call it a stagnation. I may not call it a degrowth, but then they have stayed on a positive side as well as far as unit growth is also concerned. Then in the next corporates, which is 21 to 40, we have companies like Laranon, Ajanta, Hetero, Corona, and Apex. If you look at the performance of these companies, Laranon has shown a robust double-digit growth in terms of value as well as units. Ajanta continues to show a positive growth in terms of value as well as units. Hetero, though the unit, then maybe a unit degrowth, but the value growth is robust 15%. Same story we see for Corona as well as Apex Labs. Then we looked at the top brands, how the top 40 brands have performed in the market. Over here, since the brands of Mankind, which are coming at the top position, the brand falls in OTC category. Probably it may be a reflection related thing because of which the value seems to be relatively higher. I accept that. We are looking into it. But if you look at the other areas, brands like Foracort, Calpol, Budecort, which is majorly in the pain and respiratory segment, they continue to show a very good and robust double-digit or encouraging positive value as well as unit digit growth. Then if I were to look at the next 20 brands like Duolin, T-Bact, Rhizodec, Ultraset, Moxikind CV, Preganews, and EcoSprint. So basically the brands from the respiratory segment, anti-infective segment, cardio diabetes segment, and pain segment. So these are the 5-6 brands from these therapy areas which have continued to show a very encouraging value as well as unit growth for the month of May. So if I were to talk about or summarize my presentation or analysis today, the IPM, as far as fixed dose combinations which have got banned is concerned, IPM of around 824 crore has been impacted by this notification, and majority of the impact is from the respiratory segment. Only 5 molecular combinations which are part of this banned portfolio have a significant value, and only a few companies among the top 20 have been impacted by this notification. For the month of May, the IPM continues to show a growth, a positive growth, but the growth is majorly driven by price increase, exceptions being the anti-diabetes, the gynec, the blood-related, and the oncology segment, where even the new introductions have managed to drive the growth of the market. Despite the challenges in growth for the month of May 23, there are a few companies among the top 40 which have shown a robust double-digit value as well as unit growth. And as far as the top brands is concerned, it's majorly the ones from the respiratory, anti-infectives, pain, and cardio diabetes segment that have shown a strong value growth for the month of May 23. This was all about how the market has performed, the impact of the government notification on the market at a therapy, brand, as well as corporate level. And now we move to our next section, which is opinions that matter, wherein we will be discussing with Mr. Samar Ghosh from Pulse Pharma how the lines between acute and chronic portfolio product promotion have started blurring over a period of time. So we move on to our next section of opinions that matter.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Opinions That Matter. Today, we had the privilege of speaking to Mr. Samar Ghosh. He is the president. Welcome to Opinions That Matter.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. Very good morning, viewers. And I'm also following
You, it's a pleasure knowing that leaders like you are following us. Thank you so much. Sir, I'll begin with question that is one of my favorites to ask to all the leaders in the industry. You have worked with many companies, sir, in the industry evolve over these years.
Yeah, it's an interesting question actually to start with. So last 3 decades, when I look back and just come today, uh, it's extremely evolving, and I feel always proud about being a responsible pharmaceutical person, which is knowledge based and highly regulated. So in this kind of segment, when you are trying to work, you need to really observe play. Uh, it's extremely evolving, and I feel always proud about being a responsible pharmaceutical person, which is knowledge based and highly regulated. So, in this kind of segment, when you are trying to work, you need to really observe things very minutely, how things are going along with you. And I'm quite fortunate that I happen to work with foreign multinationals as well as Indian responsible marketing organizations. So, what is my take from all these organizations so far? I'll just try to brief you, and so you can understand about how the entire market is evolving. When you work with the foreign multinationals, you know that you try to understand about you are wearing a hat. You are having the responsibility of being the custodian for that kind of key responsible area operations. And it's not just disparate sales, it is not just disparate demand. You need to always keep in your mind that we are here actually to make a change in millions' life. So I have learned about while doing this kind of noble partnerships with the healthcare practitioners, we need to really understand the art of being interdependent instead of being independent. Because the job profile is so complex, you can't just do it alone. You need to really collaborate nicely with other stakeholders time to time, and ultimately the delivery matters. And that is an art. As a leader, no one has to learn, and I'm very lucky that we have got a lot of understanding on this. Second point is the compliant way of doing business, because you are in healthcare, so you can't just jump the gun. You need to be fully strategic. The strategy has to be well aligned with the values of the organizations which is already set in. So when organization is having credos or a set of values, how you're going to reflect, how is it going to resonate through your actions? Because one side is product and service, other side is your action. How this is going to marry? I think that's extremely important, for a meaningful orientation. This possibly we could learn a lot from the foreign multinationals. And when it is coming to the strategic alliances and the tactical game plans, the key performance indicators are extremely important actually to, if you don't measure something, you are not going to really get the success. And success depends on multiple factors. But you need to really well define the KPIs. So there is a process, there is a chemistry. That chemistry possibly is just drawing this larger canvas, how you are going to come from the word known as innovation. So whether are you listening to the customers, to the the R&D innovations, to the process innovations, and to go-to-market innovation. So, as a responsible marketeer, we got this opportunity to get a lot of orientations out of that, working with different stakeholders. But when we worked also with the Indian companies, and that has given us tremendous level of knowledge about customer proximity, the turnaround time, the rigor, and not giving up attitude. Because you need to have technical game plans much faster and better than the competitors. That agility you learn from the Indian companies.
True.
And the alignment you learn from the
Multinationals.
foreign multinationals.
Right.
That time. But I think this is actually marrying each other, because today's India's organizations are truly multinationals, and the adaptability is the game of everything. So today I'm very proud that Indian multinationals are extremely responsible, and they have understood staying in much more challenging environment, because not every day you are getting the research molecules, you are having branded generics, you did reverse engineering, you try to focus on the best in class quality as well as affordability for the millions around the globe. I think that is extremely, extremely challenging, and where Indian companies every time is just standing tall and tall. So if you really ask me, the bottom line is the alignment and agility being in healthcare. I got these two different strides together, and we need to learn that how to really go along with that, being a responsible marketeers going forward, and that is exactly what I do in my practice.
Right. Sir, you have you heading the acute clusters here, and you had a long career in the acute therapies for quite some time. There's a question that keeps coming back to me again and again. That is, acute is generally regarded as a therapy wherein you need to generate a prescription on a daily basis. Is this assumption true even in today's context?
Yeah, but very interesting question again. So the acute and chronic, these are the two things that dependent on the onset of the disease progression, and how much time of hospitalization is required, or what is the etiology. So, for example, that I think again these acute and chronic are blurring the boundaries. The clinical manifestation possibly can be termed as acute, but going forward, once you are trying to understand what is the primary and secondary cause or etiology of that acute problem what the patient is suffering, might be chronic. The asthmatic attack could be acute, but asthma is chronic. Somebody is coming out, with the low back pain, that is acute, but actually the osteopenia and osteoporosis would be definitely termed as chronic. So we need to. This is an opportunity, for a marketeer, and you need to have that the clinical eyes and ears, the way HCP earns that. That what is these clinical manifestations? What is the correlations between biochemicals, parameters and clinical manifestations? So today acute. So when I look into your report, that the anti-infectives when the unit degrowth is happening, you can see a pattern also in respiratory, that there is a degrowth unit. So instead of looking the different verticals in isolation, if we see the pattern that in the drug regimen, ultimately that will be prescribed by the doctor. So if you look into regimen of any of the healthcare practitioner, so there will be a blend of acute and subacute or chronic. It all depends on how to address the disease or the suffering. So first I need to really give the relief to the patient, and then I need to really investigate that what is causing this pain. And then after that, I need to really treat that cause. So I think this is absolutely a blend of acute and chronic. As you said, yes, acute is having, when you do the volumetric for any product projection, if it is categorized as a typical acute, yes, the duration of treatment is quite short. But That is how we look into the predictability. But definitely there is a pattern from acute to chronic and subacute. So these are all interchangeable, based on the patients. Patient is one, and that is going to change, and it's very fluidic. So I think that we need to have clear visibility about the drug regimen, the disease, the prognosis, and then getting into that what kind of the drugs are getting inside on priorities. So if we look into from that point of view, we can always set a pattern to that.
Sir, also what I would want to understand from you is what is the new and exciting that is happening here at Pulse Pharma under your leadership? I hear Pulse Pharma as a company is driven by innovation. So what is the new innovative that is happening here?
Oh, that's a very, very relevant question. Today, I'm very fortunate, when I look at, last 2 years, I've been in this system, and possibly that it is the most exciting phase of these organizations which is going through. And this has again started with the founder, managing director, Mr. K.V. Rambabu, who has envisaged the kind of the growth target model for these organizations, chosen a very difficult path 26 years before. And today we are all working as a team to how to make a 26 years young organizations which is going to thrive in this marketplace with a single objective to make a difference in the patient's life. Our entire value system is evolving around that to reach to the unreached and serve to the unserved. And if you really look into the name, everything starts from that. It's very enigmatic. The pulse is always it is being alive, and it is responding to different need of the organs. So that is how we know it is pulsating. So similarly, that our products are exactly resonating that kind of the purpose for the organizations which is set. The organization basically, if you look into the three ways organization wants to grow, with nutri-therapeutics, with nanotherapeutics, and with cell therapeutics. So this tripod is beautifully curated so far, and for the sustainable growth and development for these organizations. Our the managing director has been always emphasizing on the quality and the affordability, and a meaningful, credible, evidence-based promotions. So that always helps me to have a spontaneous alignment that whatever we have learned, that how to really make a difference in the patient's life, and which I can see at Pulse the scope of doing so with our kind of product and services. So if you just giving an example, how the vitamin D was seen, today it is totally different by the healthcare practitioners. And initially it used to be like supplement. It is for acute, but today this supplement is getting evolved through this transformational agenda in the medical field to the chronic as a therapeutic. So to get into that, what kind of medical evidences are required? What kind of partnerships with different specialties are required? So we have been doing thoroughly with the Gynec Society, with orthopedics, with cardiology and endocrinology society. We are tremendously depending on the inputs of the advisory boards, their thought processes, getting the insights from those thought processes, creating advocacies, having a circle of influences, and going through outreach programs to make sure that when patients reaching out to the doctors, they are getting this latest and best vitamin D, which today we are having. Similarly, that few days back we launched one Acute, basically, which was their product in the pain segment, and in that pain segment, now we would like to take a resolution. So every product when we launch, there is a purpose behind that. So here, when in the pain segment we have launched, we have a very distinctive purpose, that how we can avoid indiscriminate use of NSAIDs to the patients. And that is in concurrence with the healthcare practitioners. And so if we can do that, we can differentiate between painkiller and NSAID. I think that is a great benefit to the patients going forward. Similarly, that for the bone health, we are having certain products, which are giving a tremendous level of experience. We are into safe motherhood programs to take care of the PPH, the both morbidity and mortality of to the mother. So if you look into, we are becoming the back champion. The backache is going to happen because of nervous system issues, or maybe because of muscle, because of bone related. Pulse is having distinctive superiority profile with its product range to really address these issues of the healthcare practitioners. So giving these examples in just few of the lot, and when we talk about, we take the responsibility of the quality as well as whatever the claims, what we are going to do that. We first reach out where the problem lies, and then we try to make sure that our 1,000 field force, they're well trained and they talk what is supposed to be talked about. So they should understand about, that they are responsible partners to the healthcare practitioners. So we are creating a nice ecosystem in this company, which is just emerging out as going to be definitely one of the most admired organizations, which is Make in India. And this is what our endeavor is. And I'm very, very thankful to my all, workers and fellow colleagues, our research and development, which is world class, our support function teams, they're working day and night to make a change, actually, not just sort of, we are in the rat race of creating the numbers. So we always call it as the size of the organization is seen the size of solving problems. That is, everybody is trying to work with this common language. And I'm very happy and fortunate to be a part of this journey so far.
That's lovely. Sir, one last question. What is your advice to young, champions entering the pharma industry and wanting to make a career in sales and marketing here?
So when you talk to the young generation, so you face two problems, that they are impatient and they're extremely intuitively intelligent. So you can't really have a storytelling, which is boring and which is taking so much of time. So you need to be very sharp in communication and how you are going to really make them attentive. So that gives you a lot of learning, actually, that are we still relevant to this new set of generation. Yes, I must talk about three things, because every day in your platform and so many things are getting bombarded, and all things are extremely important. To me, for 20 years, I was in product management, so I am having certain level of pain and pleasures for this segment. Three things I feel are very important, and critical success factor for all the young product management fellow colleagues. Number one, you need to be in full sync with the vision of the organization. The organizational vision and your perspective cannot change, because you are coming from other company, so you will start thinking in that line. You might use your expertise, your experience, but when you are getting into the casting of the new organizations or where you are working, you need to get a full immersion of the organizational vision, the capabilities, the strengths, and how it is going to be, make sure that with available resources, I can make a difference. That attitude is extremely important. This is an attitude. Next one is understanding strategy. We keep on talking about strategy. Everybody more or less, it has become a ritual to make a brand book or brand plan. And if beginning of the year or last quarter of last year or the next financial year. Yes, we need to understand this brand book is made for what? Is it to satisfy somebody or is it to satisfy myself? We create insight, we go up to strategy, but once the strategic levers, LPs or leverage points we are trying to explore and identify and getting into tactical events, we lose everything. We try to satisfy filling up the templates. My sincere request to all of you that please create a storytelling. The brand badly requires a story, a bunch of stories to be talked to the patients through the healthcare practitioners by your salespeople in an exciting fashion. How you can create about that? So my humble request to all my brand management young colleagues that when you make a brand plan, don't treat it absolutely as a PowerPoint presentation from the first day. You work on Excel sheets. You work with enough desk research and field research. Put it there. Fail fast. Fail inexpensively in those papers. But once you are into tactical game plans, which must resonate with your brand essence, which you have made it, with the SMP, which you have designed, and what you have made a plan based on your SWOT, those things will be extremely important. You are not making a brand plan for somebody else. You are making a brand plan to see yourself that how brand is going to grow in the marketplace better than the competitors and making a dent in this contested segment or wherever the segments you have defined for. So it is you are working for yourself. The last but not the least essential element to me would be possibly to be conscious about creativity. In today's scenario, post-COVID, the entire pharmaceutical healthcare marketing has been evolved very fast. And every brand manager needs to understand that you have today's traditional way of meeting doctors through your sales force. Another one is you don't do that because you are only meeting X number of doctors. Beyond that also, there's a huge number of doctors lying who are also important. And today the omni-channel marketing becomes very important. So when I say the creative element, first and foremost, to the same set of doctors where we were going, because any reference, any medical claim is substantiated by certain references. So one scientist has written to other scientists. How I am going to create a context while putting that particular support document? And that's the job of the marketing people. The marketing person is not a medical person. He or she might get the help from the medical department about those points which are essentially required to substantiate the claim. But how to put that? Am I really creating a patient portrait nicely so that doctor is able to see that patient through my creative in-clinic documents? Or am I doing some omni-channel activities, creating micro communities or communities through which also I am reinforcing my point? So I think today it's very important that with clarity into vision and strategy, how to put it as a marketeer in a creative fashion is going to be definitely important in today's context, especially when we are in a branded generics segment. So these are the three things possibly I always tell to the people who meet me and who work with me, and I'm sure that helps a lot.
Sir, this brings me to another question then. How important is fieldwork for the marketing team? Today we see marketing spends at least 10 to 15 days in the field, and then they come back and they are bogged down with a lot of work which is brand building related. So how do they balance this?
Yeah, so I think that's a very relevant question. So field work is a part of the brand management entire ecosystem, because as I said, that desk research and field research both are very important for existing products, for new products in pipeline, to understand from the healthcare practitioners and what is happening in the contested segment, how brand is working. So I don't think that the medical in a medical field the brand managers will go and focus on the prescription generations, which is the primary job of our medical representatives and the line management. So rather than if they can understand how strategy is working at the grassroots level, what are the problems in that particular strategy while implementing through the tactical events, are those tactical events are really exciting in the backdrop of competitors activities, and how doctors today evolving towards being receptive towards such kind of things, activities which we are setting through. Is my medical representative fellow colleague is equally excited, or how can I make him more confident and creating a total alignment to the brand as well as portfolio or the organization along with the line managers. These are all the jobs of brand managers, which he or she can just pick it up and come back, and just after coming back forgetting everything is not going to serve the purpose. He has to really have minutes of meetings and then debrief in the meetings, either for him or his hierarchy, and how to use those very, very invaluable elements which are always there. For everything you need to really go through a structured dipstick survey. The brand managers, when they understand ins and out about the segment as well as their products, they eventually will get to know that what is working and what is not working, and where I need to really stretch. So I think they can connect the dots, if they keep on working. How many days and where it should be, it all depends on the company to company, and as well as it's need based. So that can be always, planned based on their requirement. It is not something like fixed days and something like that, geography. It all is strategic. So a brand manager is a blend of strategic and the tactical game plan. So he has to understand. He cannot just say that I have given some inputs and that is the job of somebody else to do that.
We always see this LinkedIn fight.
Yeah, so I don't think that today's the new generation brand managers are not actually thinking from that line, because when I ask that what is your aspiration, and that clearly talks about what they would like to reach, and what is the space they are occupying at this moment, and how much they have to go for that. Today it is, I don't think these people, if you orient them well, you give a nice ecosystem in their company, and you continuously encourage and give them learning environment, I think these people will be definitely become your strength.
Right. So the onus also lies on us.
Yeah, of course. It's
well.
more than the brand managers, with the organization. So how you can really, because when you select somebody, definitely you must have seen some good things to the person. So and now it is how good are they in your organization, and then strategic fitment, and are they really feeling happy employee working with these brands, and the process that owners it depends on our things, how to develop them. So this is very important.
So thank you so much. It was lovely spending this morning with you and understanding how things have evolved over the years.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and interacting with me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to our audience for joining us today morning. Have a lovely day ahead.